The views expressed on this podcast are that of the host. This topic of UFOs is full of governments, charlatans, thieves, and loads of shit. For your listening enjoyment, put on your tinfoil hat, turn off all the lights in the home, and sit in complete silence because the probe is armed. Don't be scared if you're touched. Lastly, the UFO talk is explicit and your virgin mind is about to get fried. Let's get the show started.
Welcome to UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O. So, this is episode 21, and we have a special guest, right, Manny?
Yeah, we have a special guest today, and by the way, we got an email from someone named Shannon who made a special request.
What was the request?
It was not to play background music during interviews.
But you know, it would be cool if we play some disco or like, you know, some EDM, some old school baby.
So, we're going to oblige. And for Shannon, we're not going to play it during this interview because we have on the line Toby from the Secret Transmission Podcast.
Toby!
Welcome aboard.
Hello, guys.
So what's happening, Toby?
Well, not a whole lot. I had a weird sighting, and when I had my sighting, I was quick to let you guys know.
So let me get this right. You had a weird sighting, and the first thing you thought of was Big O.
Yeah, that's right. I thought of Big O. I thought this is perfect news for the ozone.
Yeah, Big O is a sighting. I think it's under cryptozoology.
Whatever. Oh my God.
But see, now on my show, the Secret Transmission Podcast, we do talk about weird things, and we do touch on UFO topics sometimes. We did the Aurora, Texas Alien Fest. We were there. I got to meet Manny, and so we do talk about weird topics, but we're not any type of UFO experts. Well, we're not experts in anything. If you listen to our podcast, we even say that we're not experts in anything.
Well, we're not experts either. Manny strives to be one, but no.
Well, I figured you guys might know, or maybe someone might report some kind of sightings to you guys. So I figured I'd tell you guys and then let it go after that.
Well, hold on. Before we get into the sighting thing, let's talk more about secret transmission. Like, what exactly you guys talk about. So that way it gives the viewers, or listeners, and viewers, because you're on YouTube, something to look at while they listen to the show. They're like, oh, let's check out secret transmission. And, give them a breakdown exactly what you guys go over.
I like weird things. I'm a big fan of X-Files and Fringe and even the show Supernatural. So I wanted to learn more. And I found out about number stations. And they're just weird radio signals that you can pick up on a shortwave radio. And I just kept going and researching stuff. So we talk about conspiracies, we talk about cryptozoology, we talk about weird history. I mean, so far we only have 13 episodes out. Our latest episode was the superstitions episode. We just talked about every superstition that we could think of, and we went and talked about some of the origins of some of the superstitions. We've talked about the Bermuda Triangle and the deep web, just weird things that normal people don't look up, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the Bermuda Triangle, I kind of know a little bit about that, actually, which is weird that I know a little bit about the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know anything else. But from my understanding, a lot of the incidents that happen with the Bermuda Triangle, I know about it, but I can't say it. Funny. But it's due to a lot of methane gas released in that area.
That's one of the many theories of things. But I like the theory of that Atlantis is underneath the water right there, and they have some kind of big power generator. I don't remember what all it is, but there's some goofy theories out there of what causes the equipment malfunctions to happen.
So, Toby, tell us a little bit more about your co-host, because you have more than one, don't you?
Well, Kristen, who is my girlfriend, she's the other main co-host, but we usually rotate our co-hosts in and out. Just whoever's available, my friends, my family. We just grab them and say, hey, do some research on this topic, and then we're going to talk about it.
Can you use a Big O on your show?
I could use Big O on my show. I don't know how to do this, though, and record conversations. But once I figure it out, both of you guys are welcome to come on and chit-chat about weird stuff with us.
Oh, we're ready. We'll be there.
I'm on it. Whatever. It's going to go down. The Big O is showing his presence everywhere.
That's right.
So recently we had Ronnie Dawson on, and now we have you, Toby, because apparently Texas is turning out to be like a hotbed of UFO activity.
Right. And what's weird is it's after this Aurora, Texas festival. Have you noticed that? It makes me wonder if there's something about, the anniversary of that happening with all these weird sightings.
Well, it also could be something that it just made you more aware of your surroundings. It brought you in a situation where you're now looking and wondering more and looking up in the sky more, which is great in reality because the Aurora, Texas makes you more aware.
Well, see, one of the things that I've done research on that we haven't done an episode on our show is the chemtrails. And I also work in the oil field, so I'm always out in the open, and I can always see planes flying over, and I don't have an opinion on what the chemtrails are exactly just yet. I need to do more research on it. But so I'm always kind of looking in the skies. My incident that I had this past week, it was a lot different because it was starting to get dark already, and we were coming home from the grocery store. I think it was between like 8:30, 9 o'clock or so, and we were driving. We were headed south, going to our home, and I noticed this one light, and it looked like a star, and I was like, geez, that's just a really bright star. And I pointed it out to Kristen. I was like, look at that star. It's really bright. We started coming up over the hill, and then we saw another light. So there was two of them. And I was like, weird. Look how close those stars are. Look how bright they are. We kept going and getting closer up over the hill, and then we saw 4 in total. And if you were looking at a face of a clock, they were positioned at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. And it was just like a quarter of a circle, and it was so weird. And I started telling Kristen, take a picture of that, because the other thing is, they were staying completely still. They were not moving, they weren't blinking, they weren't doing anything. They were just bright lights, just sitting there.
You heard any sound coming from them or anything like that? Because apparently you was driving.
Yeah, I was driving. We probably had the radio on, or I don't really remember. But I did try to get Kristen to take some pictures, and she couldn't get her camera to focus, and I just said, just start pushing the button, try to take pictures of whatever that is. And about the time we were about to turn down our road, we were slowing down trying to look at these lights while she was taking pictures, and she finally snapped one decent picture, and it's the picture that I posted online, and I've got it to where the lights are circled in red, and there's only 3 in that picture that I can tell. Like I said, we got up to the road to turn, and as soon as she got a good picture, that's when they all scattered, and they were moving quick. And I redrove that road the other day, and I hit a timer, and it takes almost from about where I think I originally saw the light, it took me about a minute to get to the place where we turned when the light started moving. So that's what's really weird about this whole thing is they were perfectly in the sky in that quarter of a circle formation for almost a minute before they scattered.
And so, Toby, as far as the weather, it was pretty much a clear day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. I don't remember any rain or anything. I know we've had a lot of rain and stuff lately, but even in the picture, you can see it looks pretty clear outside.
Kind of looked up basically the area, the airports in the area, whether or not there were activities happening on that day, and I really didn't come across anything. So there wasn't any aerial shows, there wasn't any major, backlog of flights in the local airports between the two cities that you mentioned. Right. So the skies should have been pretty clear.
Now, I know in Gainesville, where we're from, there's a small little bitty airport, and then somewhere in Denton, the direction we were facing, I think there's another small airport somewhere in that area.
Yeah, Denton has a municipal airport also.
Right. So that's what I thought at first, was maybe it's an air show. But I come back to that point of those 4 lights sat there for over a minute without moving. I mean, they look like stars positioned in the sky, or a picture of stars positioned in the sky. They were not moving. They were just in that position.
That's interesting. So here's what I want you to do. In the link that you probably posted, I didn't get to see the link yet, but time, date, location, and to see if you can get more people to collaborate with your story, so that way we start putting little inklings that, oh, we saw that too. You know, it's not just next thing you know, it's going to be like the Phoenix incident. Oh my God, we saw those 4 things too. You know, and finally somebody's coming out with it.
Right, and that's exactly why I went ahead and posted it. I did actually on the picture write my little story on it. Saying that it was on May 4th and what time it was between, and kind of gave just a little bitty story of what happened. Okay. And I've turned it into a couple of I think it's the website, I'm going to forget it, and I really wish I would have looked it up. I think it's called TexasUFOsightings.com. I posted it to them just trying to see if anyone else saw this and thought it was, odd, because, again, it was really strange that I keep going back to. It couldn't have been planes, because planes can't sit in one spot for over a minute like that. There's no way.
So, Toby, one of the things that we heard a couple of times being at the Aurora event from people that have had these incidents is that it kind of changes their perspective on the UFO topic. So do you look at these a little bit different now that you have kind of like your own sighting?
Well, I've always, I'm like the X-Files. I've always wanted to believe in UFOs and stuff. So this kind of gives me, if it wasn't a UFO, it's something really odd and strange. So it still gives me like a little bit of belief, I think it helps the belief anyways, because it was a weird sighting. I can't tell you. I really want someone else to be like, yeah, I saw those lights. It was strange, wasn't it? That way I'm not sitting here thinking I'm crazy or something. But I do have my girlfriend who saw everything too.
Well, usually a lot of times it'll take a couple of weeks before people actually report some of these sightings.
Right.
Yeah, like after they talk with people, kind of get everybody's input.
Now, the good thing is that you actually was not alone. You actually have an adult next to you that can kind of collaborate and say, hey, I saw this too. Now, unless they're feeding into your illusion, unless they're like, oh yeah, I saw it too. Oh my God, no, don't. But it seems like y'all two are both really, like, hey, that was weird. Let's post it out, which is the point. And thank you for contacting us and telling us what's going on with that, because that's what we're about. We need to get that information out.
Yeah, and like I said, as soon as we got home, I was looking at her. She sent me all the pictures and everything, so I could blow them up on the computer. And immediately, what I did when I got home was start. Like I said, I wrote a little paragraph over the top of the picture to kind of give our story, and I started posting it, and I started sending it to everyone and trying to figure out, did anyone else see this?
So, Toby, I think what we'll do is we'll put some links on the description for the show so that people can check out the picture that you took and also the ones with your annotations on it, as well as a link over to your YouTube page so they can catch up on the secret transmission as well.
All right, I appreciate it.
It's strange that everything continuously is happening in Texas. Texas seems to be a hot spot right now, and we need to get more people together in Texas and just keep that going and keep looking up in the skies and stuff like that.
So, Toby, any last words for our listeners regarding your incident or your podcast, or any lasting impression you want to leave them?
No, I mean, if anyone has seen this, let us know, because I don't want to be the only. Me and Kristen don't want to be the only crazies that have seen this. So,
all right. So here's a little bit of comedy. So Toby was actually the one who liked the Big O segment. In case anybody didn't catch that, Toby was the one who's wanting a T-shirt. If I ever make one, so he's going to get the O gear, and. I'm not saying that he's my biggest fan, but he's the fan that I know of right now.
Right. This is like the Matrix. Toby is the one.
He is. Whatever.
I would proudly wear a Team Big O T-shirt.
Damn right. Let that go.
Hey, listen, before we let Toby go on this interview, I want to make sure that everyone goes to UFOBusterRadio.com, because Ronnie Dawson actually recently posted a video that kind of depicts some of the images of this UFO that's very similar to what Toby encountered. And You decide whether there is a similarity between the two.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange coincidence, because Ronnie is in Texas, is he not? And between all this that's going on, and Toby seeing this, and Ronnie seeing or posting something recently as well, that could be the inklings that we're starting to see, which is great. This is what we need. So Toby needs to join our website and stop messing around. Him and his girlfriend need to just, and we just need to stay in close contact. By the way, Toby is going to be, welcome to UFO Buster Radio at any time because he's a, big old zone segment.
That's right.
Well, Toby, we thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for plugging all our podcasts and our YouTube and stuff. We really appreciate it.
We're not plugging. We're okay. Let's not say that we're plugging, right? What we're doing is appreciating each other's craft.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it still.
There you go.
Oh, did you hear that sound?
Whatever. Let it go. Don't even say nothing. I appreciate Toby. He's the first fan that came forward to me. So I'm just saying right now, he's my bestie.
That's right.
And Thunder Buddy, because I'm afraid of lightning.
Well, I guess the bromance will continue.
There it go.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Toby.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right. Thank you. Well, it was great having Toby on from Secret Transmission, but I think it's time to go into the ozone.
Big O! It's showtime!
Today on the ozone, I'm actually going to talk about NASA a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, NASA was funded in 1958. And it was funded by Eisenhower. Eisenhower, he wanted to push the space program, especially after the Soviet Union launched a satellite called Sputnik. Everybody heard of Sputnik, right? If you don't know, look it up. One of the first artificial satellites, and the only thing it did was beep, that we know of. But it was an official satellite that was launched by the Soviet Union. And after that, the space race started. And Eisenhower was determined to win this space race, and he put a legislation through Congress, and lo and behold, NASA was formed. Well, it was pushed forward. Now, a whole bunch of acts started coming out, the Space Act and blah, 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 and all kinds of crazy stuff. Basically, if you really look at what the purpose of NASA is to kind of further human and mankind, and also look at possibilities of looking at different minerals and other aspects, because we're destroying our supply here on Earth. Well, NASA has been doing this thing recently where they have live feeds and they are filming stuff on the SSI, or the International Space Station, the ISS, sorry. And every time something strange comes up, the transmission just automatically cuts off. And that leaves them into a lot of criticism. It seems as though the transparency of NASA has never been there since 1958. And understandably, they're probably working on all kinds of crazy stuff. Just between furthering mankind and national security, or whatever which way you want to spin it. There's some things that they just probably don't want us to know yet.
It almost seems like NASA basically is the face of what normal spacefaring civilians or society should be looking at. This is how we should look at space, when everything happening in the background is what's really happening.
Which is correct. I'm trying to figure out what's, at this point of age, what is NASA's true purpose? What are they trying to do? What are the goals? What are the real achievements? Because it seems like everything is so shady that I don't think any average American with a little bit of knowledge, of space exploration and knowing a little bit about NASA, and would just not believe everything they say.
Yeah, it just makes no sense to me. Especially when you have astronauts who are coming out saying, hey, I've seen this in space, I've seen that in space. Yeah, we believe there's extraterrestrial life, and yeah, we're thinking they're coming here. So why are you worried about digging up rocks on Mars?
It seems like the focus is purposely avoiding stuff. And once again, they've been saying, and a lot of people have been coming forward that NASA kind of hides stuff and, not showing any type of UFOs or anything like that. They cut off live feeds. This has been going on for years, ever since. And it kind of brings me to a kind of impasse. If they really wanted us to not know anything, why would they have live feeds? It kind of tries to show transparency, but then again, it doesn't. If they're cutting off these live feeds, if they are purposely, supposedly coming off of their live feeds, which so happens to always be around a UFO, why do that? Might as well just cut them all off and just do what you've been doing since 1958.
Well, because you could basically say, hey, we're not hiding anything, but on the back end, they're pretty much delaying the feed.
Right. I mean, it has to go through their server. It's probably, kind of like how some of these radio shows that you and I listen to on the morning radio shows, that there's like a 5-second delay or a 5-minute delay or whatever the case may be. But the point is it the FDA delay? There's like a 5-10 second delay, whatever. But still, they see whatever they're going to see first. And if nobody catches it or somebody makes us think about it, automatic cutoff. That could be the case. And doesn't make it any better when every time there's a UFO, not saying that they're extraterrestrial, I'm not saying there is intelligent life behind the UFO. What I'm saying is every time there's a situation where there is a true unidentified object, right? It could be just floating, it's not really flying, automatic cutoff. And they've been doing that since it started. Ever since it started doing the whole live feeds. So let's stop. Either NASA shut down the live feeds and try to, ignorance is bliss, or come forward already.
So recently, some of the stuff that came to light was information you found regarding the sun.
You see, with the sun, I mean, there's so many weird things that's happened around the sun. I mean, could it be gravitational deflection? I'm not sure. It just looks weird. There has been circles. Now, recently in the Inquisitor, there has been a square object now in the past 6 months that I found that it's been in different spots, different locations around the sun. Now, if it was gravitational deflection, right, it will probably be in the same 2 spots every time. Something is on the other side of the sun that we don't know about, that's bending the light and blah, 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 right? But that's not the case. Because if you look at this video, it's happening on all 4 corners of the sun in different spots every time.
And really, it kind of looks like an edit, like someone went and blocked out that piece of video so you don't see what's on there.
Exactly. Which is weird. Why would you block it out? Or why wouldn't you? Now, are they trying to start something to say, hey, there's a UFO here? Or is it NASA, which they have been known to do this? Right, not saying that they have done it, but that is the conspiracy theory about this. They have been known to edit photos. Why edit? Aren't we as a society ready for this yet? Can we just move forward?
We've heard it time and time again. The word ridicule. People just being uneasy and talking about this topic in public. So really, as a whole, it doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like people are ready to hear what's really happening out there.
It's funny because that's the exact thing that I said when we first started this podcast. Now, I do believe that we're ready, but I also feel that as a society, we need to come to accept that we're not the only ones out here. I mean, mathematically, it is impossible for us to be the only life forms in this universe. Not galaxy, I'm talking universe. Now, mathematically, though it gets smaller when you come into intelligent life and sentient beings, and then you come into sentient beings who has the technology to travel, mathematically that equation does, or the end of that equation does come to, a very small number, but it still could happen. So mathematically, can we not say that it can happen and start looking for reasons of how or accepting?
I guess it's hard really to work those numbers in your mind. So right now they're estimating there's 100 billion planets just in the Milky Way only. That's 100 billion.
Right. And it's always been the case of whether there's life on these other planets, definitely. There's definite life on other planets. Whether we can prove it or not, that's one thing. But mathematically, there's definite life on other planets. Now, there's always the question of, is there intelligent life on other planets? That's a whole different ballgame, and it also makes that equation a lot more complicated. And that end number, that answer number, does go down dramatically because there's more than one life tree that started and ends. So it could be so many different life forms, but are they intelligent? Or are they sentient enough? Or do they have any type of technology? We don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. Even if you do the math on that, if you take, let's say, 5% of 100 billion planets and say that 5% has some kind of intelligent life form, that's astronomical. Now, take into consideration that that's 100 billion planets in one galaxy. We're saying the universe is comprised of 200 billion galaxies. Now, take 10% of that. I mean, the number is, as you would say, beyond the realm of possibilities of how much there really is out there and the opportunity for someone to find sentient beings. But the problem is that we're in one little corner of the Milky Way, and we have another 199 billion other galaxies out there.
I mean, let's make it clear. We're not trying to say, your religion is wrong or anything like that. No. But what we're trying to be is not ignorant. Okay? We cannot be the only... That's like almost going back in time and saying everything revolves around the Earth. The sun revolves around the Earth and all the planets, and we are the center of the galaxy. That's going back to that stigma that we need to get away from. We need to go ahead and just push forward, push past any type of stigma that says that we're the only ones here, because we're not. I mean, I'm honestly saying, and you can hear, I can say the big O says, we're not alone. Dramatic pause. I like it.
I'll delete it. Well, yeah, like I said, I think it's just hard for people to fathom how big, the part of the galaxy that we're in, how big the Milky Way is and how many more Milky Ways there are out there, that even if you took one little blue planet out of each one of those 200 billion galaxies, that would say that there's 200 billion other planets just like Earth spread around the universe.
And it's crazy is that we're still finding life forms in hostile environment. It doesn't have to be a blue planet per se. I mean, we're finding bacteria in cyanide in lakes here on Earth that thrive. You cannot have the stigma of this is the goal, this is the model or mode of how life starts, which is completely not true. You don't know. You don't have that equation or know for a fact that this is exactly how it happened, because that's not true. We're finding out today here on Earth there are different forms of life that we felt long time ago, not even that long ago, as a matter of fact, about 5 years ago, that could not live. We found life in the heat vents in the bottom of the ocean, hostile environment. We found life in lava fields or by lava fields of water full of sulfur. And now we found a life thick with cyanide inside lakes, bacteria. They're not intelligent, obviously, but still, if you go with science, it's kind of hard to let that go.
Yeah, it's going to just be one of those struggles that we continue to have to deal with until that one day when we have verifiable evidence that there is intelligent life beyond our solar system. It's going to be
Independence Day all over again. I'm a fan of that movie, but, when it comes to movies like this, and it's weird that Hollywood does this, come up with these crazy movies. But if you really think about it, we're so ignorant that can actually happen, that we don't know.
Well, Big O, I guess we've reached the end of our podcast for this week. And I want to thank Toby again for joining us from Secret Transmission. And if you want to take a tour over to Secret Transmission, they have a great YouTube channel. And again, you can listen to them on Stitcher and iTunes, and we'll have the link in our show description as well.
Also, check us out on UFOBusterRadio.com. Feel free to join and start up discussions, and me and Manny are always on there. And check us out on Facebook and every facet of multimedia that we're using right now. We're trying to get the information out. And hit us up if you have any questions, if you have any answers. If you saw that same Texas thingy that Toby saw, hit us up.
Also, keep in mind that we're going to be helping Ronnie Dawson promote his book and really making sure the word gets out there. But it's not just Ronnie Dawson, it's everyone else. Anyone out there that wants to tell their story about a UFO experience, any kind of a situation, a sighting, or an incident, let us know. We'll be happy to help.
There's a non-judging family. We don't judge you. We don't care. We do care. But we don't...
It's okay if you judge Big O.
Really? Just gonna... Under the bus again with you. Anyway, we welcome you, and we want your story. We want to share your story so that way everybody knows. And what's going to end up happening is when you share your story, other people who hear our podcast is going to be there right with you. So you're never alone when it comes to this. That's what we want.
So last but not least, we want to thank Shannon again for taking the time to write into the show. And we pretty much encourage anyone that wants to contact us to do so. We do have email now connected to UFOBusterRadio.com. So to reach me, you can do Manny at UFOBusterRadio.com. To reach Big O, it's a Big O at UFOBusterRadio.com.
There you go. Reaching out, touching people.
And since you've done your touchy-feely thing, I guess that's the end of the podcast.
All right, from Big O and Manny, have a good day.
Keep your eyes on the skies.
Ciao.